Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Today I'm gonna give you three speeches. The first one is informative speech, the second one is an argumentative speech, and the last one is a persuasive speech. I'm gonna start with the first speech, which is the informative speech. Emotional intelligence. I'm going to ask you, have you ever wondered how this world has changed? Globalization came to connect us with people from every corner of this world. However, if I ask you how many time do you spend with your family, what would you answer? Or do you understand your own feeling and or the other's feeling? Or have you recently had negative thought in your mind? This is what I'm going to talk, the emotional intelligence. This is something that not all the people know. Maybe they ignore it, but we need to take an essential care of this intelligence because it helps to maintain our mental health. Today, I'm going to speak to you about what emotional intelligence is, the benefits of having this intelligence well developed, and finally tips of improving it. The emotional intelligence is not well known, so I'm to explain you what it is. Serrat said, emotional intelligence describes ability, capacity, skills, or self-perceived ability to identify, assess, and manage the emotion of oneself, of others, and of groups. Serrat 2017. So it helps understand us much better and also helps understand how the others feel. This emotional intelligence is divided in 5 parts that take control of every part of a way of expressing our emotions. These are the 5 parts. Self-awareness, that is in charge of knowing our emotions. Self-regulation is in charge of controlling our emotions. Self-motivation, that it helps us to motivate us to keep going in our lives. Social awareness is for understanding how the people's emotions and feelings. And the last one, social skills, that helps to manage the emotions of the others. This is how the emotional intelligence works and why it is so important to develop in our lives. Now, we know what the emotional intelligence is. We need to know what are the benefits. A well-developed emotional intelligence is essential in our lives because those people who are emotionally intelligent can establish a connection with people in an easier way. This happens because they are able to read their reaction and feelings. Moreover, people who are emotionally intelligent are natural leaders. They also have greater satisfaction and a greater degree of success. Better teamwork is one benefit of emotional intelligence because it allows us to make good communication and understanding with the rest of the team. According with Bhavana, persons with high emotional intelligence have the ability to identify the needs of people who deal with them and therefore be able to maintain healthier relationship with them. These are some of the benefits of one well-developed emotional intelligence in people. Now, we know the benefits of one well-developed emotional intelligence. It is time to say in which way we can improve this essential intelligence to have good life, emotionally talking. The first way is effective emotional orientation, which is based on the idea that we must have the idea that there would be some unpleasant or negative experiences that might affect our feelings. But we need to recognize that these unpleasant things don't have to stop us from doing our goals. The second way is using emotion as information. Emotion tell us something how the world is affecting us. This works like this. If we are depressed, it's because we failed by doing something that we really desired. This helps to identify what has caused that negative emotion. So it makes much easier the process of overcoming it. Effective action orientation is how we control our own negative or emotions under negative thoughts or unpleasant moments. This helps to remove those feelings even under pressure. These are some ideas of improving our emotional intelligence. To summarize, emotional intelligence is essential to be developed in our lives because it is in charge of helping us to understand the other's emotion. So it deserves more attention for each individual, more in this world in which we are more like emotionless machines than emotional humans. This intelligence has many benefits for our lives, and there are many forms of improving it to have those benefits. If we take more care about this intelligence, we eventually will change this broken world. And I want to finish with this quote said by the creator of this theory, Daniel Goleman. It says, if your emotional abilities are in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can have empathy and have effective relationship, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far. And thank you for your attention. This was my first speech, the emotional intelligence, which is an informative speech. Now I continue with the second one, which is an argumentative speech. Okay. The topic is, are video games really dangerous? Boredom is something that is always presented in our routines. It could be said that boredom is our most common enemy in our single lives. For this reason, human beings have always been looking for different ways to overcome that horrible boredom through entertainment. Entertainment is something that is in all the species, from the little dog that play with its tail to the human that create it to entertain themselves. Human beings have discovered different ways to make more interesting their single lives, such as painting caves, create something new that has never been seen before, write or read a poem, a novel, a book, or just spend their time with people who they love the most. After that, technology came and changed the way to fight against boredom. It also changed the way to fight against or brought new games of entertainment because it brought new and incredible things to do. Currently, one way to fight against boredom is video games. Video games have changed the traditional way of entertainment due to they have provided us with new universe that have just been seen in people's imagination. Video games are an open window to travel to one universe in which people can be their own hero. Although video games are one way to know new things, other people see video games as one way to share violence in young people. But it's not true at all. Therefore, video games are one way to socialize and meet new people from other countries that have the same taste. They are also one way to improve some skills in young people, and they don't promote violence, as many people say, because they promote cultural knowledge. The first point is that video games are able to open a new door to socialize with different kind of people that live in every part of the world. Video games are capable to join different people in a single group or society. Gamer community is presented in many cultures in this world. People, especially teenagers, can find one sectional group of people that share their own taste. Video games can create a new model of society because they build a tie among people. These communities of gamers don't just have a prime interest in their video games because they can share other interests like sports, hobbies, or they just want to meet new people who have the same taste. This interaction is really helpful because this is one way to know new knowledge about another country. Many people have found new friends while they have been playing video games. Moreover, being part of a community gamer required the ongoing and sustained cooperation of the group of people to play. As Ken, Medagon, and Ivan 2009 said, this cooperation can potentially offer teens practice in identifying shared goals, negotiating conflicts, and connecting with others who are not part of their daily lives. Nowadays, modern technology helps to close the gap to socialize because gamers can interact without face-to-face contact. And the new technology makes the experience of interacting with others, gamers, more comfortable. Video games are a new form in how people can socialize in this world. Video games also improve many skills in people who play them. Playing video games have a lot of benefits in children, young people, and old people. People only find video games as one way of entertainment because they only see teenagers and children enjoying one game. However, that time playing a game helps children to acquire or improve some skill that they have. They especially help children who have some problem. As Griffin, 2002, claimed, video games have been used in comprehensive programs to help develop social skills in children and adolescents who are severely retarded or who have a severe developmental problem like autism. Video games are not just used for people who have developmental problems. They can be used for people who just want to improve their skills. There are many types of video games, and each type has its specific problems to solve. This problem can be taken as a challenge for the player. One game needs a very sophisticated strategy in order to achieve the objective of the game. Other games, like arcade, need more precision because the movement needs to be perfect in order to finish one level or the game itself. This action increases the capacity to learn and read patterns in an easy way. Engagement can develop a strong ability to concentrate on something specific until they achieve their point. Currently, video games are more presented in people's lives than 20 years ago because they can be found in computers, cell phones, and mobile devices. Not only video games have the ability to develop some specific skills in children, but they also have another benefit for them. As Grenfell, 1994 claimed, video games as a cultural or cognitive artifact have tremendous social importance because of their nature as a mass medium. For most children, video games are their introduction to the world of computer technology. For one child, a console may be the first step to introduce himself or herself to the world of technology. The situation is simple. The child receives one console or computer and one video game, of course. Then he starts or she starts to interest in this technological device so that she or he begins to search more about technology and learn at the same time. When the child grows, he or she has knowledge about one console or computer. This single action can result in the child finds his or her hobby in life. All of this happens thanks that he gets curious about that console or computer. Video games are more than one way of entertainment. They are one way to learn and acquire knowledge about technological devices. Video games have signaled to produce violent people. And that is one reason for why parents try to separate them from their sons. Many people believe that children who play video games are more violent than children who don't play video games. Many parents associate the violence in school with video games, but they don't have evidence that supports their argument. There are some researchers that support the point that video games don't cause violence in young people. Many studies have been conducted to determine if video games affect children and teenagers' behavior, but these studies haven't proved anything at all. Although there is no evidence that support that video games are bad for young people and children, some parents and news associate children's aggression with playing video games. They claim that video games in which the character shoots weapons in first person or third person point of view, such as Call of Duty, Fortnite, Free Fire, Halo, or Guild War, change the children and teenagers' behavior in a bad way because they see that the characters are killing everything in their path. Moreover, parents assume that blood in video games such as God of War or Mortal Kombat makes in children a little fascination to see one character dismember another one while blood and organs are spread in the ground. Parents say if one child plays a violent computer game, he or she will be more violent in future. Nevertheless, they are wrong when they say that video games are the main point of violence in children. There are other ways that cause violent behavior in children and teenagers. Movies are one example. Currently, almost All the movies have violence, guns, and blood, and people can watch them in their own living room while they are spending time with their sons. Furthermore, news is another way to see violence because they show horrible and traumatic events such as homicide, suicide, terrorism, and others. Video games are at least one way to generate violence. They are not one way to create a more violent society, as many people say. They are one way to overcome the stress in population life, and people can know cultural information in games such as God of War that tell interesting facts about the culture of Greek and the gods of Greeks. To summarize, video games are completely different from what parents and social media say. They are a new door to avoid the boredom. They have more advantages than people believe. So they are new and innovative gift brought to help people's lives. Video games have brought one interesting way to create a new friendship based in a common subject, a specific video game. Moreover, they have built a new and curious manner to learn and teach something while the player doesn't know that she or she is learning. Video games and computer games also help people who have developmental disorder to acquire new information or improve their skills. People have always accused video games to make young people and children more violent. However, this argument is a myth because video games don't cause aggressive behavior in people who play them. Video games and computer games are more than one form of entertainment. In past, this reality only was reached by literature, but video games brought a new form to open people's mind. They also improve people's creativity and cognition. Video games have more social value than people think because they are social, they are one essential part of entertainment. And people can release their stress in a good way. Playing a video game doesn't mean that people who play them will be killing in the future because one video game is incapable to create a killer. So video games are one big thing more in this world which always signal good things in a bad way. This was my second speech, the argumentative speech. Now I'm going to move to the last speech, which is persuasive speech, I'm going to start right now. The topic is Unheard Voices. Do you imagine a syringe being poured down on your throat to inject a chemical into your stomach? Or being restrained and forced to breathe sickening vapor for hours every single day? That sounds terrible. And I think it would sound worse if I tell you that millions are suffering those treatments right now. And you may be wondering, why have I never listened to that on the news? I will tell you that the reason why you never listen about that is because the ones that are suffering have one voice that is not listened. Yes, I'm talking about the animals. Animal testing is one of the most horrible things that we, as humans, do to animals. We do something in the process of animal testing, and the majority of us don't realize that. This would happen because we ignore what the animal testing is. Therefore, I'm going to explain you what it is and what way it affects us and how to put an end to this. Animal testing is something that the majority of population don't know due to companies try to hide this information. That is why I'm going to explain you what this horrible thing is. According with Human Society International 2012, the term animal testing refers to procedure performed on living animals for purposes of research into basic biology and diseases, assessing the effectiveness of new medical products, and testing the human health and or environmental safety of consumers. This means that the progress that we have in medicine and health is based in the pain of millions of animals that are in laboratories. Why do we use animals? Laboratories use animals because they think that animals don't have any feeling or emotion, or just there are a lot of one species. Two examples of this are the rabbits and rats that have more than 5 babies for each pregnancy. So they think that they are perfect to be used in experiments and researches. Another reason of why the animals are used is because they, scientists, need one body to see how the chemical works in one body. These are some of the reasons why animals are used in this horrible experiment. It is argued that due to animals were used in medicine in the past, it is necessary to keep using them. However, we have technology that can make the process of making medicine more accurate and without using any animal in the process. That is why this practice is so cruel and must be stopped. Animal testing is not just bad for animals, but humans as well. As everyone knows, biological structuring animals is not the same as the biological structure of humans. However, there are some animals that have almost the same biological structure. According to the Food and Drug Administration mandate, 92% of all the drugs that are shown to be safe and effective in animal tests fail in human trials because they don't work or are dangerous. And just the small percentage that are approved in humans have some side effects that affect our health. This happens because animals and humans have different genes and anatomy that work in different forms. In this way, scientists humanize the animals when they add human cells in some animals. The most common animal used in this process of humanization is the mouse. The idea behind the process is to make that the gene of the animal more compatible with our system and see the result of some chemical or cosmetic in their bodies. Nevertheless, inserting human cells in one animal doesn't mean that it will work in the same way as in an organism. This not only results in time lost, but also money and millions of animal lives are wasted. Human lives can be lost due to the medicine, drug, chemical, and cosmetic were not proven in humans, but in innocent animals that suffer their entire lives in one laboratory. Many people think that they don't cause that horrible things to those poor animals. However, the reality is that we play an important role in this awful project. We are all consumers of all those companies that use animals, and we made those companies to keep doing animal testing in order to prove the product that we will buy. On the other hand, some people claim that if it is to make to protect our lives, it doesn't matter what methods are used to do it. And they sometimes claim that animals don't feel or don't suffer during the process of proving one product. Unfortunately, the reality is crueler than it appears. If you're one of those people who think that animals don't suffer, I want to ask you, have you ever heard one dog or cat crying? Do you think that they are not suffering pain? Animals feel and suffer during this test. And why do we need to keep using animals when science have discovered new alternatives? There are alternatives that are often cheaper and effective. One alternative method is computer models. According with Solina, Doug, Sakina, and Dawell, 2013, computer-generated simulations are used to predict the various possible biological and toxic effects of a chemical or potential drug candidate without animal dissection. This is one way for not using animals in laboratory. There are other alternatives like cells in tissue cultures, which is the growth of cells outside the body in a laboratory, or voluntary studies, which according with Cruelty Free International, April 2018, is use of innovative technique called microdosing can also be used in volunteers to measure how very small doses of potential new drugs behave in a human body. Another way is to make the government punish companies that implement animal testing. Moreover, we, as consumers, try to buy products in companies that don't use animals in their products. These are some ways to put an end to this horrible practice of using innocent animals as simple and useless objects. To summarize, animal testing is something that has been presented since ancient times when this practice was pretty common at the moment of creating medicine or drugs. And for that reason, animal testing is part of medical story. However, this is a new century with a huge potential to change the medicine and cosmetic, and we are still using some primitive methods. The implementation of technology is necessary to avoid using animals in processes that make them live their lives in one laboratory, being treated like one object. We need to take advantage of technology to verify if medicine, products, and cosmetic are safe for humans. We need to protect those whose voices are not being heard. Or do we want to keep using things that were proved in animals? Do we want to keep living our lives in the way we are accustomed, even by knowing that millions of animals were burned, killed, poisoned, and abused? We need to change the way we live and try to make consciousness about this issue. We may donate to some organizations that are fighting to solve the problem, and I raise my voice for those whose voices and screens are not listened. It is true that if you stop buying one product made by companies that use animals, this action will not stop or close those companies, but it will be the first step in the right direction. Thank you so much. That was my final speech, which was the argumentative speech, and thank you for watching this video.